In the heart of New York City, Nathaniel Carter, a wealthy and kind-hearted businessman, lived a blissful life with his loving wife, Charlotte, and their 3-year-old son, Elijah. Their family was the epitome of happiness, filled with love, laughter, and warmth. But fate had other plans. One fateful night, Charlotte met with a tragic car accident. The news shattered Nathaniel. He was never the same again. The once vibrant and cheerful home turned into a house of sorrow. Nathaniel drowned himself in work and alcohol, while little Elijah, too young to comprehend, was left yearning for his mother's embrace. Years passed, and Nathaniel found solace in Victoria, an elegant, charming woman who seemed to bring light back into his life. She comforted him, cared for him, and soon they married. But Victoria was never the angel she portrayed herself to be. Her love wasn't for Nathaniel, but for his wealth, and her hatred for Elijah was evident from day one. Within a year, Victoria gave birth to a son, Damien, whom she fondly called Liam. With her own child in the house, she saw no reason to keep Elijah. Through manipulation, deceit, and lies, Victoria convinced Nathaniel that Elijah was a problem, a burden. One fateful night, after constant false accusations against Elijah, Nathaniel made a devastating decision. Elijah, now only 10 years old, was thrown out into the cold streets with nothing but the clothes on his back. As the rain poured down, Elijah stood under a flickering street lamp, tears streaming down his face. But inside him a fire was ignited. He made a vow to return, not as a helpless boy, but as a force to be reckoned with. With no one to turn to, Elijah did whatever it took to survive. He worked during the nights, washing dishes, delivering newspapers, sweeping stores, while studying relentlessly during the day. His intelligence and determination caught the attention of an old bookstore owner, Mr. Richardson, who saw the potential in him. He mentored Elijah, helped him get scholarships, and encouraged him to dream big. Years passed. Elijah graduated from Harvard Business School with top honors and built his own empire, Carter Enterprises. Through sheer grit and brilliance, he became one of the youngest billionaires in America by the age of 27. One day, Elijah decided to test his employees. Disguised as a low-level worker, he walked into one of his company's branches. He watched and observed, noting how the workers treated those they deemed below them. Then, as if fate had orchestrated the moment, Victoria, Liam, and Liam's wife barged into the office. They had no idea who he was. Seeing him in ragged clothes, Liam sneered. "Who let this filth work here?" Liam spat, shoving Elijah back. "People like you are the reason businesses like this lose their reputation." Before Elijah could react, Victoria stepped forward and slapped him. "Trash like you should know your place." Everyone in the office stood frozen. No one dared to intervene. No one except one person, a young intern named Derek. He rushed forward and stood in front of Elijah. "Enough! You can't treat people like this," Derek declared. But he too was humiliated. Liam raised his hand and slapped Derek as well. Laughter echoed in the office. Humiliation stung, but Elijah simply smiled. He had seen all he needed to see. Days later, Carter Enterprises arranged a grand business meeting, inviting the biggest moguls in the city. The contract Victoria and Liam so desperately wanted was up for grabs. Eager to win, Nathaniel, Victoria, Liam, and his wife arrived, expecting to impress the CEO. As the anticipation built, the room went silent when an announcement came. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our CEO, Mr. Elijah Carter." The doors opened, and in walked Elijah in a tailored suit, radiating power. The hall erupted in whispers. Victoria turned pale. Liam's arrogance vanished. And Nathaniel? He looked like he had seen a ghost. Elijah took his seat, his eyes locked onto the people who had abandoned him. "Before we begin, I want to address something," Elijah said, his voice unwavering. "A few days ago, at one of my branches, an incident occurred. A certain individual and his family insulted, humiliated, and even physically assaulted 2 employees, one of whom was myself." Gasps filled the room. "I was merely testing the integrity of my employees," he continued, "and while most failed, one man stood against injustice." He turned to Derek, seated at the back. "Derek, You are now the manager of that branch. Derek's eyes widened in disbelief. As for the rest, Elijah's gaze fell on the guilty employees. You're all demoted. Learn to respect those around you before you expect respect in return. The business magnates in the room nodded in approval. Finally, Elijah turned to Liam and Victoria. You came for the contract, didn't you? Liam nodded desperately. Well, let me make this easy. I'm giving it to someone else. Silence. Then Victoria erupted. You ungrateful brat! We raised you! We gave you a home! Elijah laughed coldly. You threw me out like garbage. You tried to break me, but I rose and now I decide your fate. With that, he turned away, signaling security to escort them out. As the hall cleared, Nathaniel remained. Tears welled in his eyes as he approached Elijah. Elijah, I made a mistake, Nathaniel choked. I let them take you away from me. I let myself believe the lies, and I lost my son. For a moment, Elijah stood still. Then his hardened expression softened. He saw the remorse in his father's eyes. The man who had once abandoned him was now broken, regret written all over his face. With a deep breath, Elijah stepped forward, and in that moment, he let go of the past. They embraced. The prodigal son had returned, not for vengeance, but for closure. Elijah never looked back at Victoria and Liam. They faded into obscurity, left to live with the weight of their actions. Meanwhile, Elijah and his father rebuilt their relationship, and Carter Enterprises continued to thrive. For Elijah Carter, success wasn't just about money. It was about resilience, redemption, and proving that no matter how cruel the world could be, the fire within could never be extinguished.